received very sad news from an organization known as OTI, Ottawa Talent Initiative, that the federal government will no longer be funding their programming. This organization, funded by the Ministry of Colleges and Universities in Canada, has been assisting, of course, high-tech professionals, like software engineers, developers, electrical engineers, chip designers, technologies, all kinds of people with technical expertise. And so they were located in Ottawa, actually in Kanata, at 359 Telefox Drive. They were, of course, recently informed by the federal government that they were no longer going to receive funding from the government. And so that means that they will no longer be able to maintain the OTI programming as located in 359 Telefox Drive. And as a result, they will be going out of business as of the end of December. So what I did was to bring with me a camera in order to capture this historic moment. So now, of course, making the announcement here is the chairperson of the board, Marianne Wilkinson, who is actually a newly elected councillor of the City of Ottawa for Canada North. She actually ran against Mr. Jeff Sitton, who was, of course, my personal councillor at Northern Lights. And Marianne Wilkinson is dedicated to the interests of the high-tech, professionals. And she's, of course, making the announcement today together with Gary Davis, who is the executive director of the Ottawa Talent Initiative. So without any further ado, here is Marianne Wilkinson making the announcement.
We had applied to the federal government to continue funding this for next year, and they have completely turned us down. And we will have not a cent coming in after December 31st, so at the end of this year we are going to have to close the Ottawa Talent Initiative Action Centre. The OTI Board of Directors will still be in existence, and we are working on some other proposals that might come forward. But we were hoping that we could continue to provide the services to those of you who have been unemployed or underemployed or are continuing to be laid off, because we've had about 120 layoffs in the last month or so. We know of 400 more coming in the spring, and there are other companies that we know are downsizing. It's going to be more layoffs. The federal government has told us that you can continue to use their services that are provided elsewhere. And those of you here who were on the original steering committee knows that's exactly why OTI was formed in the first place, because those services didn't work for people with the skills and abilities of the people in the technology sector. So I'll pass it over to Gary, who's been our executive director and has led to this being a very successful action center with a tremendous number of programs going on and networking and other types of services that could help people. And you can see from the stars that in fact helped a lot of people going on to get jobs, particularly those who felt very despondent after being laid off. It's a very difficult situation when you're laid off, particularly when you've been in a very important position in your companies. But that didn't, we've tried, we've gone back, we've done a political route. The way they have the system set up now, the politicians can't even tell them they have to give us a grant. Well, we've had good support from them, but it didn't in the end help at all. So that's what's happening now, and Gary can tell you more about how we're going to go about doing this and the impact it may have on you. And if you have questions afterwards, either of us would be glad to answer them.
Thanks, Marianne. Just to elaborate a bit before we go into what's next, to quote them, to quote Service Canada, they said they determined that the labor market conditions have changed so that there is no longer a need for services for people working in the industry.
Yeah. Where's my job?
Based on what statistics?
Well, I guess presumably they didn't tell me where they got this from because they haven't been out here. So presumably they get it, and this is a presumption on my part. They get it from the discussions or the articles in the paper and on TV that there is growth, and there is indeed growth in the industry. I don't argue that. there are more opportunities than there were when we opened a year and a half or 2 years ago. There is a lot going on. But two things can exist, paradoxical things can exist at the same time, and you're witness to that. Yes, there's growth, and there are still a lot of you out of work, and even if you get work, this is happening more often than not, you get work and then you don't have it again. There's a lot of that going on in the industry. And they did not address the major concern, and I want to reiterate what Marianne said, that one of the original reasons for OTI starting was that there are numerous services available in Ottawa, and many of them are very good for people who lose their jobs. But none of them are any good for you. Rick Radko is at the back, and he was one of the founders of OTI, formerly at Nortel. And I always remember, Rick, the image you used of it about going to these services, that their services start from the ground and they go up to here, and my career starts up here. And so you're nodding, and that's what we're faced with. But that's the option that they've given us, and the decision that they've taken. And I think it's unfortunate. Nor is there currently any plan coming from them to try to address this issue. I mean, we can wait around for the fallout or the catastrophe. I don't want to be too grand about it, but the impact of the downturn, where we all need to deal with this on a massive scale, or we can try to do some planning and work with this sector and try to do some projections and anticipate and be a little more flexible, because you don't work in an industry such as the automotive industry, where if you had a job, my dad worked there for 35 or 36 years, and it's pretty much the same. That's not going to happen. And the big industries, the Nortels and JDS, all of those, they're just not here like they were. And if I could say for sure that wasn't going to happen again, I'd be a rich man. But it doesn't seem likely that that's going to happen. So it seems to me that those of you working in the industry are going to continue to face fluctuations. You'll get some work, and then there won't be, and then there will be, and then there won't be. But you need to continue to be upgraded, upskilled, aware of where things are going, and we don't have mechanisms to deal with any of that. And we have been offered no support at this time to deal with it. So it is simply at the end of December, that's it. And you're on your own. We were given a list of the services that are available for unemployed people. It's the standard list. You've all seen it. And that's it. There will be nothing else available. And at the present time, there's nothing on the books to try to deal with this situation. Not just, I want to reiterate, not just what happens when there's a fire, but what can we do to anticipate the fire and deal with that sort of thing. We have nothing ready to replace this right now and to deal with that. It is important to know, though, that as we got going, OTI did incorporate. So we are an entity, and this action center has certainly been the centerpiece and the core of what we've set out to do.